Well, it's Groundhog Day again. Governor Murphy's raising taxes on New Jerseyans.
Right, another bad budget, just like the budget last year and the year before. Hi, I'm Assemblyman Gerry Scharfenberger here with Assemblywoman Vicky Flynn, and we're here to discuss the governor's proposed 2026 budget.
I can't believe we have to watch this again.
Yeah.
It was hard the first time. I think it's important that New Jersey see what's really going on here.
Right.
We're not making New Jersey, what is it, fairer or stronger?
Fairer and stronger.
No.
Yeah. The only thing fairer and stronger are the beneficiaries of the expanded spending.
Yeah, I haven't found those people.
No, I know. I know they're out there somewhere.
Right now, the single biggest challenge facing the people of New Jersey is that the cost of living is way too high.
I agree with him there. It is high,
Yeah.
but I don't know if this budget is going to fix that issue, and I think it's going to exacerbate it, quite honestly.
I think everybody knows the cost of living is way too high in New Jersey, mainly because of these budgets that have been excessive year after year since the governor took office. The first step to curing a problem is admitting you have one.
I signed the most important affordable housing law that New Jersey has seen in more than 40 years. And this year, we're going to build upon that accomplishment by reforming New Jersey's zoning and permitting laws so we can make it easier to build new affordable housing where it is needed most.
I heard people gasping at this. People like yourself who were mayors, people like me who sat on that housing committee and said, this is going to be a disaster. And now the idea that we're going to take away zoning responsibilities from local towns, it's a mess, this affordable housing.
It's disastrous. With all of the property taxes that people pay in the state, the governor wants to take away oversight from the locals. And this is a disaster. It's going to be a one-size-fits-all mandate from Trenton. The mayors and the people who live in these towns who know what kind of development they can accommodate will have no say in it. There's nothing affordable about affordable housing. Each unit costs $162,000 for the taxpayers to subsidize. So if you want to make housing affordable, how about you cut property taxes? How about you address the cost of living and every other tax category where we are at or near the top in the country?
And when I was on the housing committee considering that bill, those arguments were raised and totally ignored. Totally ignored. And the impact all of this housing would have on the environment, again, ignored.
There won't be a blade of grass left in this state. We would cease being the garden state. We would be the concrete state if these mandates were forced upon municipalities. Work with nonprofits like Habitat for Humanity, who do it right without any impact on the taxpayers. There are things you can do to make New Jersey affordable without scorched earth with the environment.
And with our final budget, we will once again fully fund New Jersey's public education system.
I think at that point we all laughed out loud.
Yeah.
We just got our state numbers. I don't know if you looked, half of our towns are losing state aid this year. I mean, they're cutting teachers, they're cutting special services directors. So that means a loss of services for kids who need it the most. And state scores are nowhere near they need to be post-pandemic. Kids at fourth grade levels can't read, can't do math at grade level, over 60% of them. And yet we're cutting state aid, and you're going to stand in front of us and say you're not. I thought that was a real low moment in the speech.
And that's a problem, too, where you have unfunded mandates given down to boards of education, and then you're cutting or freezing, which is a de facto cut of state aid. There's too much of a disparity. Some municipalities are getting unbelievable amounts of state aid with very little to show for it. And I think there has to be an accounting for those districts and more equity, and they love that word, equity, for other districts which are getting cut. They try and do everything right. They have high graduation rates, and they're the ones who take it on the chin when it comes to these annual cuts in state aid.
Some of the school districts are selling property to the town to fill a budget gap.
Yeah.
I hope that they rethink this idea and figure out how we're going to not only fund education, but make sure that these kids get back to at least a pre-pandemic learning rates that they used to be at.
We have crafted a proposal that meets all of our sacred obligations to the people of New Jersey, from providing record high property tax relief to fully funding our public education system. But at the same time, we're also demonstrating restraint when it comes to spending taxpayer dollars.
I love that image because it broke to, it went to the whole cabinet and they couldn't even keep a straight face.
Yeah.
They're not believing this. They know there's a $1.2 billion structural deficit in this budget on top of the $3 billion plus from the prior years. This budget doesn't address it. They didn't do anything to address it.
Absolutely. And, that 1.2 billion, that's right at this moment. By the time we get the budget to vote on and the budget is actually progressing, those structural deficits inevitably grow.
Mm-hmm.
And so it could easily double if revenues fall short, which they tend to do. Saying that you have restraint in this budget is just fantasy. We're over $24 billion increased in spending over the past 7 or 8 years, and that's hardly restraint. Property tax relief, I don't know one person whose property taxes have even leveled out, no less gone down.
Because if our state's working families are forced to make hard decisions when it comes to cutting their costs, we in state government should hold ourselves to the same standard. And that is exactly what our administration has tried to do since day one.
Tried to do what?
Cut costs? How are you cutting costs when there's billions of dollars increasing year after year in these budgets? There's no cutting going on. If anything, they may whittle down the Christmas tree items from, a certain number increase over year after year.
I think it's incumbent upon Republicans to really explain that to the voters this year. Every year I've been in the legislature, from the day that you approve that budget to the day that we come and vote as a body to approve the budget, there's usually $1 billion extra added to that budget. There's no oversight, there's no accountability, there's no transparency.
Right.
And if we just stop that, maybe we could start really cut spending. That's not cutting spending.
Right. And right now we have a $1.3 billion increase over last year's budget. This is just the proposed budget. Now there's going to be a final budget, and God knows where that's going to be. So we're starting out with a $1.3 billion increase. There's nowhere to go except up.
Yeah.
Coming out of the pandemic, which clobbered every single state's economy, including ours, we made a conscious decision to increase spending and investments in order to jumpstart our economy. The good news is the strategy worked. Today, New Jersey's economy is the envy of our region.
We have many people who love this state, love New Jersey, have families here and are leaving in record numbers. I don't think anyone's envying our tax structure, our economy, and staying here. I mean, I even went to Ireland and I saw so many companies that started out here in New Jersey doing great over there in Ireland because of their tax structure on corporations. And when we just raised, again, the corporate business tax, they call it something else now, to so-called fund New Jersey Transit. And it's not even doing that. That money's going into the general fund to be put out for all of these crazy spending ideas.
Yeah, and on the one hand, we just heard that they're trying to cut costs and tighten their belt as they're asking residents. And now their record investment in certain things to jumpstart the economy that they helped kill during the pandemic with the unreasonable lockdowns. So they can't spend their way out of it, and it's just driving more people and more businesses out. Wealth is mobile. They don't have to sit here and take this. They can go anywhere. Thanks to technology, they can operate just about anywhere in the world. They don't need to sit here and take the highest corporate business taxes in the country.
Well, they increased spending by using the federal dollars that we never used to get these federal dollars. And we had an opportunity to use those federal dollars to fix our budget.
Right.
It's such a missed opportunity. And that's how I feel when I watch this.
No question. Yep.
To those of you out there who I know are going to criticize the size of our budget proposal, which, by the way, is $58.05 billion, I ask you this: what would you cut?
We would cut the spending that occurs between the day that the budget committees approve the budget to the day that we approve it as a full body. That's $1 billion a year. Over 7 or 8 years, there's $8 billion right there.
Sure, and we can go after all the elective items that really don't have any need-based aspect of them. That's the first thing. You'll save over $1 billion right there. At least you would come back in at last year's spending levels. And, certainly maybe we need a Doge-type analysis of these budgets. We had almost $500,000 in DoorDash fees for the Rutgers football team. That's one instance of almost $500,000. Now, if we could prorate that out across all the spending in the state, imagine what we could find. There's plenty of room to cut, Governor, plenty of room.
And with our budget proposal, our administration will continue delivering economic security and opportunity to every New Jerseyan by providing yet another round of record high tax relief.
For a while, we had dropped down below being number one with the corporate business tax, and now with the transit fee that's been added on, it's a new corporate business tax with a new name. Mm-hmm. So we are at the top with corporate business taxes, top with property taxes. Energy costs are going to go up 20% just with electricity. Mm-hmm. Energy mandates, the alternative energy, electrification is all a massive burden on businesses. So nobody's seeing any of these mysterious cuts that the governor is talking about.
We have delivered more property tax relief to the people of New Jersey than any administration in history.
When you cut funding, state aid for schools, you are therefore imposing a property tax increase on all of those towns.
What's not a tax increase at the state level becomes one at the local level.
Right.
So no matter what you call it, it's still a tax increase. So.
And our Democratic friends are trying to loosen the 2% cap that's imposed on localities. And this is why, because they continue to push this budget through with all of these tax increases and all of these cuts to the local level. And the local level is like, where are we else we're going to get this money? Yeah. It comes through property tax. And
these are not normal times.
That's right.
I think it's safe to say that we are facing more uncertainty at the federal level than at any other point in modern history.
Yeah, it's not normal to spend money you don't have. So I would agree with the governor on that, because his budget proposes to spend money that we don't have. And he's talking about uncertainty with what federal funding we're getting. What safety net did he build in this budget to address that uncertainty? They just scream about it, but they're not doing anything to address it.
If anything, you freeze spending at last year's levels and you make it work this year.
It would have had more credibility if you proposed like alternatives. Mm-hmm. I would have appreciated that.
And while I sincerely hope that the situation in Washington settles down and that we in turn have a normal, healthy budget season over the next few months, that is by no means a guarantee. There is a distinct possibility that we will instead need to pursue a break the glass strategy. What that looks like, we cannot say.
So then why say it? I don't know what he means by break the glass, that we're going to, increase the budget even more? That's what I was worried about when he said that.
Exactly. And this is typical, get out ahead of bad stuff that's probably going to happen at our level and by shifting blame to someone else. So this is clearly giving you a little bit of a heads up that things may get even worse than this already, astronomical budget.
I think New Jerseyans know what's going on. I think they're really not giving New Jerseyans the credit that they should. Mm-hmm. They know that they've overspent this budget for years and years. I think they're a little worried what's going to happen in November as a result of that by blaming Trump. And I think what's really necessary, it would be a good effort if everyone gets together in a bipartisan way and starts stripping down this budget to essentials. Mm-hmm. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed our commentary on the budget. It was hard to sit through it again, but we think it's important for New Jerseyans to know what's going on in this budget. If you have any comments, we'd love to hear from you. Comment below.
This is an important subject. We have an alternative view. We have alternative ideas, and we can fix this state, starting with the budget, to make it more affordable and fairer to everybody. We care about it. We're going to do something about it. We're going to speak up as much as possible.
See you next time.